Hello there. It's time to sip some tea. You know what day and time it is. It's the tea with April Ryan. Thank you for joining. I'm telling you, we've got a lot to talk about. And I've heard from a lot of you lately, and I'm telling you, a lot of you this week. We watched the popcorn, we saw the drama on Tuesday night. As the president walked in to um, that abominably watched State of the Union address that had the least viewers than any of his State of the Union addresses. He walked into that State of the Union address. Now, this is according to CBS. He had a 60% disapproval rating. According to CBS, that's their poll numbers. Now, and CBS is supposed to be that group that's leaning towards Trump. So he's unlikable. Let's just call it what it is. He's unlikable. And I saw someone that we all know, James Carville, way back from the Clinton years. He gave one of the most poignant statements about this man and Donald Trump, the President of the United States, and his unlikability. Let's go to that clip.
I have a personal message for Donald John Trump. And you sit still, you son of a bitch, when I'm telling you this. I'm going to tell you right where you are, you fat, sorry sack of shit. People hate you. Now, let me give you, and I'm not just saying this because I don't like you. I'm saying this because I'm telling you what's happening to you right now. And get ready to tell you what's going on. First of all, everybody is stabbing you in the back. You can trust no one. I saw the story today where, of course, the Pentagon, because your boy Pete, he can't control shit, okay? Was already back leaking that General Kane told you about all the dangers in bombing Iran. Because why are they doing that? Because they hate you. And they're going to leak, and they're going to talk to the New York Times, and they're going to talk to everybody else, just like your own staff, right? Susie Wiles, she hates you. That's evident. Sherry already told you that. They're all leaking like crazy. They're all wondering what's going to happen in the next job. They don't give a shit about you, okay? They really don't. No, you can't trust anyone. Trust no one. What? Okay, maybe Stephen Miller. Okay, I'll give you that one. Now, the Congress, they can't stand you. They're not going to pass shit for you. They're not going to do anything for you. They hate you. They know that you're bringing them down to a staggering defeat. Don't trust any of them. I wouldn't, even the ones you couldn't trust couldn't do shit anyway. Like Mike Johnson, you don't know whether to whine his ass or scratch his watch. Supreme Court, well, they left the fucking house. I mean, they got their corporate masters to deal with. You're not part of the fucking equation. They don't care about you anymore. They use you. You appointed them. They fuck you. Great. That's just where you are. You know, but sit still, Trump. I'll tell you to sit still when I'm talking to you, son of a bitch. Okay? When you're a loser, you lose. And man, you are a loser, a big-time loser.
Ooh, colorful language. James Carville. Well, let's go to Congress as James Carville talked about people in Congress not liking. Let's take a look at two people in Congress from Tuesday at the State of the Union who definitely don't like Donald Trump. Let's take a look.
And inside the chamber, Texas Representative Al Green was escorted out after waving a sign that read, quote, "Black people aren't apes," in response to a video posted to the president's Truth Social account showing former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's faces as the heads of cartoon apes. It was taken down following backlash.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
And if you couldn't hear it and you didn't understand it, Ilhan Omar definitely said, Congresswoman, And let me get that right in the midst of a time when Donald Trump is trying to diminish people. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, elected Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, retorted to Donald Trump, the President of the United States, and the well of the House, "You have killed Americans." Now, there's a contradiction as to the State of our Union. Take a look.
I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
In my opinion, the state of our union is traumatized.
Woo, that's deep. That is deep. The state of our union is traumatized. According to Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, the president continues to want to believe these things, these narratives that are just not true. This affordability issue. Let's talk about the tariffs. They're now into effect. The new set of tariffs, let's say, they went into effect at 12:01 on Tuesday, that 15% global tariff. There are some exceptions, but you are now having a 15% global tariff imposed on you. And this president does not believe, for some strange reason, that it doesn't affect your pocketbook. How weird is that? Okay. I know for a fact. Now, I know a lot of us go and shop on the internet, but I'm going to tell you some of the things that I've liked, the price has gone up. Have they gone up for you? They've definitely gone up for me. The price has gone up. And I don't know where he gets this from. He is a man who does not cut coupons. And even before, and I've said that before, because it's important that we have presidents and people in office who understand what it looks like to make ends meet, who have been people on all rungs of the economic spectrum. He's only been on that higher rung. So he doesn't know what it looks like. He doesn't know what it looks like to be a real person. Has he ever had to have franks and beans? No. Well, unless they had gold laced in them or something. He hasn't had to do those kind of things. But think about this affordability issue. Donald Trump talked about tariffs before he ever ran for president. This is something he wanted no matter what, by any means necessary. And now look what he's doing because he's upset and he wants his way, what he's doing in Minnesota. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute as we get into our next guest, Kica Matos, the president of the National Immigration Law Center. I can't wait to talk to her as our team is setting her up now. I see her there. I see you, Kica. We're bringing you in soon. But guys, okay, they're telling me you're good to go. So Kica, welcome. Welcome, Kica.
Thank you for having me. I brought my cup of coffee with me, and I will say that I tell people that I have 1 cup of coffee a day, but what they don't realize is the size of my coffee mug.
Oh, where did you get? I love those type of mugs. Oh my gosh. You need to be on Coffee With in the mornings. Oh my gosh.
I will send you a link to where to buy this coffee mug because it's what keeps me going.
As long as I don't have to pay a tariff on it, okay? Gosh. So Kica, let's thank you so much for coming. I'm really appreciative of this. There was no policy in the State of the Union address, but he did rant about immigration.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you feel about Tuesday and now 2 days later.
I am as disgusted today as I was on Tuesday. This man has created a path to authoritarianism on the backs of immigrants. He has demonized immigrants, and he has really moved to dismantle our democracy by blaming it all on immigrants. And it doesn't escape me that the people that he is trashing are mostly brown and black immigrants. So the singling out of Somali immigrants during the State of the Union, appalling, with deep racial overtones, right? The way he talked about them, they are of no value. The fact that he has shut down the refugee process altogether, but yet the only refugees he's allowing into the country are white Africans from South Africa, right? And so the State of the Union, to me, it was so divisive, and hateful and racist and deeply unnecessary. And throughout the last few months, when you talk about Minnesota, one of the things that's striking is that he keeps trying to gaslight Americans. What you saw in Minnesota actually didn't happen. These US citizens were domestic terrorists. And he's using immigration in really dangerous ways. And what we're about to see is his demonization of immigrants as a pretext to send ICE to polling stations throughout the United States when it comes time to vote.
But let's drill down on immigrants. He
Okay.
talked about at first he was talking about these non-white people coming across the southern border who happen to be from Mexico. That's what he was talking about before. But let's talk about who is in Minnesota that's being targeted. Somalis. That's not Mexico. That is people of color, darker skinned Africans and other Africans, right? If he really wanted to target, he would not be in Minnesota. He would be in Texas and some other highly concentrated places. Am I correct?
Yeah, look, he has demonized brown and black people systematically, right? Recall the first time he ran, what did he do when he announced his candidacy? He talked about Mexicans being rapists and criminals. And that is really where the drumbeat of xenophobia and racism really began, right? That was when he started to really demonize immigrants. He has demonized, what did he say about Haitians? That they're eating dogs in Springfield, Ohio. He has targeted Somalis. We've already said, he said that they're of little, what did he call them? Pirates during the State of the Union, and that they are of no value. And he called them garbage. Right?
And said if any federal lawmaker if any lawmaker tries to hold it up, they're going to go after them.
Yes.
If any lawmaker tries to stand in their way, they're going to go after them. That's ridiculous.
And he has been really also clear about drawing the contrast between immigrants of color and European immigrants, right? The last, when he was last president before this, he talked about Norwegians. Boy, we really need more people from Norway. So to me, the analysis is deeply racist, and we can't turn away from that. We cannot turn away from the framework of immigration, which really is a white nationalist framework.
A white nationalist framework. This is not myth. This is not conjecture. You are telling the truth. So let's talk about how and drill down how bad it's become. Because now, because the federal government feels that they are not, that Minnesotans are not cooperating, they are now cutting Medicaid. What is that? Is that even legal? And what will you do in response?
So part of what this administration has really tried to do is to intimidate. It is a page straight out of an authoritarian playbook, right? The first thing you do is you demonize an entire population, and you use that to try to assert and spread your power. And that is what the administration has done around immigrants. Another, page that he has also lifted is trying to undermine and disrupt and minimize civil society.
Yeah.
Why? Because you don't want civil society to speak out in support of our democracy. So immediately after he became president, who did he target? He targeted universities, he targeted students, he targeted professors, he targeted law firms. That is all about undermining civil society. And then he has also advanced a set of executive orders, some of which we know are just patently unconstitutional. That is about trying to assert your power. So it's almost like it doesn't matter whether an executive order is illegal, they're going to do it anyway. And it's also about testing the boundaries of their own power. What can we do and what can we get away with? And I'll also say around the idea of ICE on our streets, I do think this administration is also grooming Americans to get used to the idea.
Yes.
We have men in uniform cracking heads all over our neighborhoods and all over our communities.
And sometimes not in uniform.
No.
How about that?
Yeah.
Not wearing standard issue combat shoes or tactical shoes and pants. We don't, and coming in with these gaiters and masks looking like a throwback from back in slavery times. KKK. I mean, this is out of control. And you're absolutely right. They're trying to they're trying to normalize it. And this is not normal. This is not the United States. And then everywhere we're turning, Kica, we're finding all of these warehouses. Where they're talking about warehousing migrants who are non-white because they're profiling. They're not going after, it's just, oh, they look like now. What happens there? How are you fighting back? How is your organization, how is the National Immigration Law Center fighting back with this?
So one of the first things we did as soon as the Trump took power was we launched an initiative called the Defending Democracy Initiative. Why? Because our analysis from the outset, we did 10 months of scenario planning, and our analysis when we emerged from the 10 months of scenario planning was that if Trump won, we would see an intentional effort to undermine our democracy, and we would see authoritarianism really taking hold in the United States. And so the way that I describe it is that NILC, which is our acronym, would no longer be focused just on immigration, that we really had to show up at the intersection of protecting our democracy and protecting immigrant rights. So a lot of our efforts have been around that. What are the tools that we're using? We're using litigation. I work with really brilliant lawyers who have not been afraid to sue the administration. The latest lawsuit that we filed was 2 weeks ago, and that was because one of the things that this administration has done is to say we're going to halt all visas from people from these 75 countries, the majority of whom are countries with majority populations of color. And so we sued the administration. We're suing the administration around critical issues that we think are all about undermining our democracy. We also work with immigrant rights organizations on the ground. And so we're coordinating and providing support to those organizations who are on the front lines, trying to protect people in their specific communities. And we're also doing a lot of Know Your Rights information. Why? Because everybody in this country has constitutional rights. Exactly. And everybody needs to know what their constitutional rights are. And immigrants also need to be able to exercise a sense of agency. Not only should I know what my rights are, but if I'm going to make critical decisions about myself and my family, I need to have the facts at hand. So we're doing a lot of Know Your Rights information in multiple languages to make sure that people are able to exercise their constitutional rights.
So I want to come back to Know Your Rights because that is very important, but I want to put a pin in that for 1 second because I want to go to the chat. Chris says warehouses are crazy. Omar says $38 billion being spent on more warehouses. Kendra says he and his millionaire and billionaire buddies have gotten richer, a lot richer. A lot of these prisons and detention centers are privatized. Hello.
Right. Most of them are.
Right. Privatized meaning private sector friends or people who have a lot of money who can build these places, and they get rich off of the fact that these places are filled to capacity. Because think about this, you have to have food, you have to give a contract for somebody to do the food, you have to do a contract for bedding and all that stuff. These people are getting rich on the detention of us, okay? Of us, all right? It's just like the prison system, right? Am I right, Kica?
And I will say, look, people refer to these places as detention centers, which gives us this veneer of legitimacy. These are prisons, and actually some of these detention centers are jails, right? And prisons that have been emptied out.
Yes.
Some progressive reforms around criminal justice issues, and now they're being used to warehouse immigrants. There is something deeply immoral about the idea that our government is contracting with these for-profit corporations. Yeah. Their bottom line isn't the health and welfare of immigrants in detention. Their bottom line is profit. So what do we see? Terrible conditions. That little boy, Liam Conejo, the one who was arrested and taken to a detention center in Texas,
sweet baby.
He got sick immediately because of the terrible food and the terrible conditions. There are now 36 people who have died in detention because the conditions have been so terrible. And now there's $38 billion, like one of your audience members says, that are really being deployed so that all of these different warehouses are being bought up so they could warehouse human beings.
Yeah. So I want to get to this before we let you go. I'm so thankful, Kica, that you are here with us, drinking your big cup of coffee while I'm sipping my tea and knocking the teapot over. So listen, as we talk about knowing your rights, we were talking about this morning in our meeting. There is an issue of if you've employed someone who is perceived to be an illegal migrant, and they're in your home, what do we do because I've been told that you don't say anything, that you can tell the police that they're there, and you can tell the person who's in the house, hey, I'm not in this, but I'm not going to give you up. What is our right? What is our right? What can we do?
So the first thing you need to know is that for the law enforcement to enter your home, they need to have what is known as a judicial warrant. Now, there are two different kinds of warrants, and I'm going to try not to get too wonky right now, but there is something called an administrative warrant that ICE can issue, which gives them the authority to arrest somebody on the streets. It does not give them the authority to enter your home.
Okay.
In order for them to enter your home, they need a judge to sign off on what is called a judicial warrant. What ICE is doing is tricking people. And what they do is they'll knock on your door and they'll say, we want to come in, we have a warrant, right? The first thing you want to do is you want to ask them to either slip the warrant under your door or to hold it up against your door if there's glass there, right? And you need to look to make sure that it's actually signed by a judge and that all of the details are correct, the name, the address, and it's signed by a judge. Because if it is not signed by a judge and you see that it's an administrative warrant, that means you have every right to say, I do not consent to let you enter my home, and ICE has to respect that.
So
it's important for people to know that there is a difference, and you are protected by the Fourth Amendment. You have every right to not give permission for somebody to enter your home without a judicial warrant. I'll say quickly, the problem right now is that ICE leadership is secretly telling ICE officers to ignore their constitutional obligations and to just enter people's homes.
So if we listen to this and do exactly what you say, we will not be looking like we're somebody who's aiding and abetting or something like that. Okay, good.
You are protecting your constitutional rights.
All right, and helping them to figure out what they have to do, who's in your house, until the judge does get a warrant. Okay, thank you for saying that. Kica Matos, the president of the National Immigration Law Center. Kica, come back soon.
Thank you for having me. I'd be happy to come back anytime.
That's a big old cup. I don't know. Send me the link for that. As long as I don't have to pay a tariff, I think I'm going to get it. Thank you, Kica.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Guys, you heard from Kica Matos. That was some great information that we needed as Donald Trump is continuing to drill down on immigration. Ira says we are traumatized. It's Ayanna or something like that. I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name, but it's IRINA. Says we are traumatized by DJT. The trajectory says vote like your life depends on it, because it does.